All right, so we're gonna get to mastering on the MPC Live 2. Now, I made a video that started off with how to sample a beat and then how to mix a beat. So if you haven't watched those, I'll leave a link below, or you could just watch to the end and we'll go straight to that video. Without further ado, this is the beat from last time. Let's just go to track 7, which is our main beat. All right, so you get a feel for what's going on. So I'm gonna change the start to about 9 because the first 8 bars is the intro. And I just want to see where we're peaking at right now. So we're at -3, which is a good point to be at when it comes to your mixing and to go into the master. Let's click on the crown if you're not already on it. And then your crown is pretty much going to be your master output. If you click on the Akai folder, it actually has presets for you to choose from, and you could go to mastering and go to master bus hip hop, and that's it. End of the video, you guys. Crazy, you hear this? The volume dropped dramatically. You don't want to keep these effects. I mean, you can, but you're gonna have to really go in, and that's what we're gonna do in today's video. So starting off with the EQ. So let's just go through what they're doing. Look at their gain. Their gain is like 3 decibels, 2 decibels, -0.9, and then 3 decibels. That's kind of dramatic for like a master. You really don't want to go up that high. So let's just get our low set. Have the cue links on screen, and it's going to read the screen, and then you could just use your cue links. Tip, always go dramatic and then ease it back. That's how you could train your ears to really hear what's really going on. You can just hear how the kicks is hitting a lot more. Let's turn it off. Versus on. What I like to do in my mixing, I'll probably start at bar 8. Bar 8 or bar 7. And the reason why it's good to like start off like that instead of making the loop hit on the first beat is so that you can actually hear how it goes in. Most of the time, we're just stuck on one section and then we don't have the whole context. And when you bring in your whole arrangement, then it's like, it didn't hit as hard. So that's why I kind of like to do it like that. Here we go. And you can hear that difference. But I'm just going to turn down the gain. Like 1.5. Honestly, I wouldn't really go past 1 dB. It's not a set rule, but you just want to understand you don't want to do too much. If you have to boost it like 5 or 3, just go back into the mix. Our low mids, what they're doing is they're cutting around 552 hertz, and the bandwidth is not as sharp. This is the bandwidth and this is the gain. Let's just boost what they feel is boxy. I want to say around 529 hertz, so it's not that much of a difference from where it was at, but it's just more precise. Turn it down. All right, so let's just hear how that sounds. very subtle, but it makes a difference when you hear it all together. And then the high mids, if you want to get like some brightness in it, it's really between 5 and 8K. And if you can't hear it, turn it up. So I don't really need to change the highs because the highs is like really high. It's at 15 kilohertz. So they're just bringing in air in the mix. So let's hear it going in. Off. Now I promise you, if you do a lot of A-B, and A-B just means like before and after, but they flipped it around, a musical term where you could just bypass it and then turn it back on just to see if it actually makes a difference. This is going to really help train your ears and actually make you not overdo anything. Now let's turn on this air compressor and let's see what it's doing. So right off the back, I don't even know why this is a setting. The threshold is at negative 48 dB. You don't want your threshold to be that low, especially on a master. So let's turn that all the way up. Just so we get a good enough reduction. We don't want the reduction to be at negative 10. That's just kind of crazy. And then also let's look at the output gain. They boost it at 4.3, and let's look at the attack. The attack is not too low. The release is pretty slow. I'm gonna use this compressor just for the peaks. You just wanna control those. So I'm gonna bring this attack fairly close to down. The ratio is fine, and let's hear it. Bring the release down too. Let's put our output back to 0 and also bring up your ratio, because if you're trying to use this as a limiter, we gotta have our ratio set to very high, which is like 100. And then now we have an air transient. Just by looking at it and hearing it, I could tell that you can use it as an exciter. And this is where you gotta come into, you know, having your own way of thinking, because if you just listen to everybody, you don't develop your own kind of thinking when it comes to mixing and how you can make it work in your context. So let's just hear what it's doing. Yeah, so it's doing like a weird side chaining. So off the back, sustain is the first thing I'm gonna go to because I don't need anything being sustained. Let's hear how that sounds without the sustain. And right there, that got rid of that pumping feeling, that side chain kind of feeling. And then let's go to the attack. Turn it up. And the attack is really emphasizing like the kick and the clap. That's why I said you could just really hear your mix a lot better, because also this is a transient kind of shaper. So anything that has sharp transients, which is going to be your kicks and your claps most of the time, and your hi-hat, and you know, depending on what kind of perk, that's what's going to shine more. So you could just use this as an exciter for your drums. So let's hear it off. Hear that clap? And I just turned down the attack shape. To me, I think the attack shape is how much do you want the transient to hit. That's how I'm looking at it. And that's why I said if you develop your own kind of sense of mixing, not become delusional, like this still makes sense if you listen to it, that's kind of what it's doing. So make sure you don't be delusional, but have your own way up in your mind of how to mix. And then the last thing is the maximizer. So let's hear how that sounds. And that, honestly, that's pretty much it. The reason why I didn't boost a lot in the air compressor is because then if I did that, it will be pushing up this meter too high. Like, you don't want to do too much with your output gain. Let them maximize do that. And then the look ahead is just to see for any other peaks that might go past. So you could just put that up to like 1 or whatever. You can bring down the threshold if you want to. And also, to make sure to stay safe so that it's not clipping, you can have it at -1 decibel. You don't really need it hitting at -0. I think the loudness war is over. If you look at some songs on Spotify and you use like a RMS meter or whatever, you get kind of, or LFS meter, I think that's what it's called. People, y'all know who I'm talking about if you really want to go all crazy with the mastering. Then you could see that most of those songs are not just hitting at -0 dB. So I think the loudness wars is safe to say a bit over, but you do want it to sound good and loud. Like, let's hear what would happen if you turn up your threshold. It just crushed the whole mix, because what's essentially happened is the ceiling is right here and it's bringing up everything, and then it's keep going past your ceiling, and that's why it's getting squashed. That's why you hear it get squashed. Yeah, so that sounds good to me. I don't really get too crazy when it comes to like mixing and mastering, especially on a hardware like standalone by itself. If you want to up your game, you're gonna have to add more attachments to the MPC, at least in my opinion. You could add pedals, you could even hook it up to your mixer, your console. That's why I like the MPC Live too, because you could hook it up to many different outlets to perform like an actual master. But for the most part, I just like to make beats on the go and mix, make it sound a little decent, and then I just send it off. So if you like this video, like and share with your other producer friends that are using MPC Live, and I hope this helps somebody out there. And if you have any recommendations for the next video, please leave a comment below and I'll get to it. Thank you very much, and peace.